Hey everyone, welcome to Beanie Boy Reviews. This is gonna be a little different than my usual reviews. I'm kind of reviewing something, but this is more of a discussion of an oldie Cartoon Network show, quite a obscure Cartoon Network show, and that is Uncle Grandpa. We're no, no, we're talking about whatever happened to Robot Jones, um, created by Greg Miller. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about this. This is my first time watching the show, and how it's gonna kind of go is can discuss the whole. Just combine. I just combined both seasons because there's only 13 episodes total. We're gonna discuss them and rate the episodes. Just give more of a discussion, and then rate. Give an official rating of the show overall. And I am joined by my very good friend, Blake Dennis. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Very glad to be here and very excited to talk about this, what I believe to be a very slept on cartoon.
It kind of is. This was definitely like the year before, a year or two before I started watching Cartoon Network, so I sadly missed it. There was no like reruns or anything, which is pretty wild. The only knowledge I had of this show actually was there was this episode of OK Ko that had like all the Cartoon Network characters in it, and Robot Jones was in that episode.
Oh,
Um,
wow. I had no idea.
yeah, there's a lot of great little details of like a lot of classic Cartoon Network shows in that one particular episode. Now he wasn't like talking or anything, but his presence was like there. Um, so that was pretty cool. But that's the only time remembered this character. Um, and then I've seen some people talk about it over the years, but it's definitely not. It's definitely fading into obscurity, unfortunately. Definitely fading away, and now it's pretty wild. It came out in 2002, which is pretty crazy. 12
Yeah,
years
man.
old,
Yeah.
or
So
no, that
20 years old.
yeah, it's 20 years old. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I
Um,
didn't want to believe it. You're getting
yeah, I
old.
know. It's so odd because I remember I this was one of the shows that I grew up with. It was like this.
Oh.
Time Squad was another show that I grew up with.
Mm.
And yeah, I remember watching like the episodes as they aired, and I like remember specifically seeing it like premiere around my birthday. The pilot came out like 2 days or like 2 or 3 days after my birthday. Um, and I remember being so hype about this show because as a kid, I was at this time I was 7 years old, so I was only in elementary school, but this gave me like a sort of very false, warped perspective into what middle school could be like. and I just remember looking at this and being like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna have to deal with all of this in middle school." uh, Thankfully, I didn't have to deal with as much as Robot Jones had to go through, but yeah, no, I this show holds a near and dear place to my heart.
That's stoked to hear. Did you know how this show is supposed to end?
No, I do not.
Oh, I got a strange factory then. Yeah, because it did get canceled far too soon. But I remember the creator. I was looking this up. He wanted to end it, unless I'm getting my facts wrong, which I don't believe so. It was from a trusted source, but he he wanted to end it of Robot Jones took over the world. It was gonna be like a commentary on like how like humans abuse technology. I'm like, whoa, that's a dark way to end a cartoon.
Yeah, right. I
Yeah,
mean, considering the demographic that you
yeah.
were going for, like I believe this was a Y7 rated show, which is it's odd because they like and we'll talk about this when we talk about the
Mhm.
episodes individually, but they go through so many heavy topics.
They
Like
really
looking back
do.
on it, I'm like, uh, real brief mention. There's the episode at the beginning of season two, or yeah, season two if we're going by like um, seasons. But it was the gender episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he was just going through like gender confusion, and I'm like, this is very this is very deep for a cartoon aimed for like people at that time my age. Uh, so yeah,
For 2002 in general, that's a pretty. I mean, we'll talk about that episode. I have a couple of thoughts on that one, but we'll get to that.
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I can see that ending have episodes where they kind of build up to robot breaking down. We'll kind of talk about that too. So I I do think that's true, but that's interesting. And also, what like a cool some other cool facts about this is I know in season one they actually used a robot for the voice actor of Robot Jones, um, and then they redubbed it for an actual actor. But you can like listen to both like versions. I definitely prefer the actor because I mean, typical just sounds like a robot talking. You don't feel any charisma or any like passion towards him. So it's definitely a take. You know, it's definitely a take. I'd much prefer the actor's version personally, but I mean, I thought that was a fun little thing. And
Hmm.
this was also I think the last show to use. I know use digital animation for this. I know this was all like hand drawn. When I think this was one of the last Cartoon Network shows to have that, which is pretty cool as well. And speaking of that, something I really love about the show, one of my favorite parts of it is definitely its art style. It's very it reminded me of like School Rock. You remember like School Rock back in the day, Blake? I don't know if they showed that at your school or not.
Uh, yes, like very briefly. I'm like getting I'm getting like a Raven Simone vision of what you are talking about.
So wait, I'm just making sure I'm typing the correct thing. I'm not talking about the movie with Jack Black. Or no, what was it called?
Was it Schoolhouse
I think
Junction?
I think it was
Oh, it was
Schoolhouse
Schoolhouse Rock.
Rock.
It was.
Schoolhouse Rock.
I'm thinking of Conjunction Junction, which is an
Oh,
episode of Schoolhouse Rock. But yes.
yeah, but the art style kind of reminded me of that. It was really cool. I liked how they really paid a lot of detail to to the characters, like how like it was very sketched in. Like I really liked the art style quite a bit, and I liked the comic book like details that would happen, like the thought bubble when someone would say a noise or something, there would be like a comic book like pop up thing. Like it was just very unique to
Mhm.
the show. It's something I definitely like about it.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely want to double down on the animation style because I remember when I was watching the pilot how the details changed from the pilot episode to the show itself
Mm,
later on is so drastic, and I feel
yeah,
like that needs to be mentioned because it's like Cartoon Network definitely thought that this show was going to be good to be able to like, you know, fund all the extra stuff that went into the like episodes later on.
right.
Because like, you know, pilot episodes are usually just like scrapped together. A lot of time is taken to create them and everything because there's a lot of labor going into it. But um, you know, with the addition of like, you know, going from the pilot episode of just like sketchbook drawing background characters that
Hmm.
are static and only the main character who is acting in that scene is animated, um, to a very lively, dynamic background. like, you know, when Robot Jones walks through the hall, like kids are doing stuff instead of just like standing there with their mouths open.
Right.
uh you know, so I very much enjoy like this animation style too, because not only throwing it back to Schoolhouse Rock, but it reminds me of whenever, I don't know if you were a doodler at all. Like, did you ever doodle in your notebooks
Quite
in
quite a
school?
bit.
Yeah, so you know what I mean. Like when you're doodling in your notebooks, it sort of like gave me that uh, sort of vibe to it. Like, you know, you're in class, you're doodling, and you know, you're just like absentmindedly going through your school day. You know,
Yes. Absolutely, definitely agree with that. Really,
and I have a feeling it was intentional too, like to reflect uh, the sort of like ups and downs, the highlights and woes of middle school life when you're like going through very uncertain times as a child. Um, yeah, no, I think it's just, you know, really good animation and like really key uh, for what it was trying to portray. But with keeping the ending, the proposed ending in mind, it sort of like draws me back from that, you know.
fair enough. Yeah. Um, but let's get into discussing about these episodes. I do have like notes of like jokes or certain like things taken back for each episode, but as we start to go down, I don't have as many. I guess it's because like there's definitely a lot of these that are like, okay, I've seen this episode in many like cartoons or slash shows, so there's probably going to be a lot of episodes. I'm not going to have much to say, but we'll get through it.
Mhm.
Starting off with that pilot that we were talking a little bit about. So, uh, Robot Jones, our main character, for people that don't know what the show is about, learns that he has been put into a human public school that he must now attend class. He believes that the problems are too easy, which results in him getting sent to the principal's office. This is a thing that happens quite a bit in the show for being a smart aleck to the teacher. Um, like it's kind of like introducing us to everything that's going on in the show. Principal Madman looks like Hitler, which like just made me just uncomfortable the whole time with his Hitler mustache, and I'm just like, huh, okay.
Yeah,
That was
no,
interesting.
like first off, like his look was very authoritarian,
Mm-hmm.
which was just very odd to see. And second, Principal Madman, really? Like like a little too on the nose, Greg Miller. I think that's his name, right? Greg
Yeah,
Miller?
yeah.
Yeah, like shout out to you, Greg Miller, but also at the same time, why?
He's so ridiculous as we get through them. Like I love seeing your name, but this one's just like, all right. Um, there's a charm to it. I appreciate it. Um, other than sad. Something I do. It is sad seeing like Robot gets picked on immediately because he uses a charging cable. Um, and he's very different from all the other kids, and he's not really fitting in quite yet. So that's definitely sad to see. And like something I really like is we also get introduced to um, not like one of the popular girls, but like a girl that's like she's she didn't get like picked on, but she's around like Shannon, who Robot Jones falls in love with. And I really like what I really liked about this relationship compared to because in so many slash just kid series or series in general, to be honest, is it's always especially in like middle school, high school, it's always like the most pretty, popular girl, and it's like always that. What I liked about this is like, she was clumsy, and she wasn't like I said, she wasn't really that like popular. um and she wore like braces, and it was just very endearing to see um Jones not fall for the girl everyone's attracted to, you know what I mean?
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's sort of like I think it was very appropriate for the Robot Jones X Shannon relationship canon to be a thing because, like, in the pilot episode, like he looks at her and it was just like, oh, such efficient design,
Hmm.
such like shiny chrome and like all this stuff, and just like idolizes her and like puts her at like a centerpiece for it, which is great to see because like you said, like a lot of um like coming of age cartoons or even coming of age like live action TV shows or movies always put the emphasis on like, the pretty girl or like the shy, cute, semi pretty girl, or like, there's always like an essence of uh, you know, um like ethnocentric beauty standards,
Yeah.
like to whatever the like target audience is, that when it came to this show it just made sense for Robot Jones to be like, oh yeah, this girl here has like chrome headgear, and I think she's like super smart and super cool because of it, and it just like goes from there.
Yeah,
And
it's
like
it's personality based, and also like, I mean, he is attracted to her like cybernetic leg and her headgear as well, but like it's very like personality based as well, and like smarts and whatnot. So it's not just off of simple things as looks, which is it's just a nice change of face for sure.
of course, yeah. It's it I don't want to say it like went too deep with anything because I don't think that was like the intention.
No,
Um,
definitely not.
but definitely like a really cool move. Like because Robot Jones could have totally subverted his own like character and like MO by being like, oh, I'm going to try to become more human and
Hmm.
go after like the stereotypical pretty popular girl,
Right.
but instead he's so like dedicated to his objectives and everything about like absorbing input from junior high students that that's just never a thing that ever occurs to him. This is just something that happens organically and naturally that made sense for the character.
I agree. And I missed this little detail of this episode, but or part of this episode is like this robot family, and the mom unit gives robot assignments. So each episode is a different like data assignment as Robot Jones tries to learn to understand humanity. That's like the basic premise of each show. So that's how they kind of do each lesson. It's definitely a smart way for sure to have these lessons that we see in many cartoons and whatnot. Um, Also, Shannon and Mom Unit, I know, is voiced by uh, Gray Griffin, so that always a voice acting legend for sure. So I'm going to admit I have more notes about other voice actors in this that are pretty cool. So, but get to the next part of this episode, which is PU to PE. Robot Jones fears of taking a shower in gym class because he thinks he will rust. That's a cute concept of an episode. For
Yeah, for
sure.
sure.
And we get introduced to hold on, what was his name? Er, wait. Oh no, I mixed mashed the episodes. The next part is Electric Boogaloo. Um, this was when we get introduced to the Yogman twins, which just the most creepy kid. I mean, I'm not gonna say I didn't have creepy kids in my middle school, but not like this. Not like this. And one of them's voiced by like a very young Josh Peck from Drake and Josh. So I thought that was pretty cool. Um, um, and yeah, we can see off the back they're teaching him like very wrong lessons. First, this is one of many peeping Tom scenes and various other shenanigans, and then we also get introduced to his real friends, QB and Mitch, who they just bond over playing video games. It's a very simple premise of friendship. I don't really have much else to add other than the Yachman twins are make me very uncomfortable. What's your take on the Yachman twins?
Yeah, no, they are they are very like sleazy and like very malicious and just very uncomfortable. They have a very uncomfortable presence to them that I it makes them very clear that they are antagonists, which is great. It just establishes it. But I cannot get over the Devo hats that they are wearing
Yes.
during the show. Like, I get that it takes place in the 80s, which is like a cool thing to like know about it. But it's just so funny, and it just makes them stand out so much. Yeah, it's I think they're great antagonists. I think they're fantastic, honestly.
Agreed. And then this episode ends with the what was weird about this is this ends in like a music video, and I just want to preface that the show never has another music video again. It's very odd. But it ends with this funny song about nudist and his dog. That was pretty funny. And we get introduced to his best friend Socks, who not a really great proper introduction, to be honest. So yeah, this was definitely a decent pilot. It got us to what we needed, and introduced us to the important characters of the show. But the Yagwins made me very uncomfortable. Now we're into episode 2 now, PU to PE. D. Riley Baker voices the coach, Mr. Workout. That's the character's name.
Yeah, that's just like a 2 on the nose name.
It's just so lazy. I love it. They're like, who cares? His name is Mr. Workout. Okay. Yeah, this was a fun spin though on what I like about these episodes that make these simple premises a little bit unique is it's a robot going through these things. So like I think it's a fun spin on being uncomfortable with your body, but like replacing it with, oh, you don't want everyone to see you rusted. Like it's just it's a different take, I definitely think the robot jokes were pretty funny too. A joke that I thought was funny of the mom saying like, "Robot, I have clean wind power for you. It's supposed to be healthy for you." Like I thought that was a funny joke. And also like I just like the whole bit of Mr. Workout not understanding that robots can't get wet. I just think that whole premise is really funny. He thinks he's just shy.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's weird because a lot of the adults just do not understand or do not comprehend that Robot Jones is a literal robot, you know?
Yeah.
Um, I it boggles my mind every time like I see like, for instance, like with Mr. Workout being like, "Oh, you're a piece of metal in a computer. Um, obviously you should get a shower after a gym class, which you totally did not sweat in whatsoever, uh, because you're a robot."
It's so funny because the kids all treat him like like a robot. Like they don't treat him like a human being, but the teachers for some reason just don't. I don't know, or at least some of them. It's very funny. My favorite bit of this whole like cat and mouse game, weird cat and mouse game of trying to get him in the shower, is he moves the entire locker, Mr. Workout, into the shower, and I'm like, that takes
Yes.
so much commitment, and then Robot just grabs it with ease. It's just that was a funny bit. Um, and then the second part to this episode is Vacuum Friend. This was a sad episode. We get like um more of a proper introduction to Robot Jones's friend Socks, but not really that much.
Mhm.
Not compared to his other friends. Um, we get introduced to Grandpa Unit, which is his grandfather. I like how they communicate, and I like their relationship. Um, Also seems a little racist towards humans. Interesting. Which definitely is part of how reminds me of how the hints at what the series ending was going to be. It's definitely sad to see um, Robot Jones becomes friends with a vacuum, because the premise of this episode is he becomes friends with the janitor's vacuum because he's not making any human friends. So it's definitely a sad premise. And he thinks he's the vacuum sentient.
Mhm.
Um, there's a very inappropriate joke of the vacuum sucking up the female teacher's clothes, just very inappropriate. I'm like, whoa, this is still like a Cartoon Network show. Come on. Definitely quite a bit of dirty jokes in this show. Um, but I like the joke that Roa Jones makes of not to be scared of Gramps unit. I know he has just some outdated processors. Like I just like that joke of going like on top of the joke of the robot being racist. Like, yeah, I know he has some old ideals, but it's a funny joke. But yeah, this ends in a, a pretty sad way. And it's not like a perfect episode because it's just fairly similar. It's a little similar to Electric Boogaloo, so not really much else to add. There's another running joke I thought was funny where this kid gets a that was laughed that laughed at Robot Jones gets abducted by birds. It's just gone
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, that's such a wild episode.
Anything more to say on this episode, Blake?
No, I think you pretty much like covered all the bases that I was going to talk about. Like, I think it's just a very solid episode all around. Because it does touch on um very, very interesting topics of like, um, oh, like, showering in gym class sucks. Like, how do you
Yeah.
overcome that? And like, also, how do you overcome like not being able to make friends and everything? So they are like, the cool thing about this show is like at the end of each episode is a good lesson to follow. Like these things are very unilateral. They're not skewed in any way to like fit any sort of like agenda. Um, yeah, I think it's just a very, very solid episode.
I agree. Um, the next episode we have is Cube Wars slash Sickness. We'll get into Cube Wars first. everyone becomes obsessed with these Rubik's cubes. Did you ever have a Rubik's cube? Like, you seem like a Rubik's cube guy. Am I wrong by that statement?
So I did have a Rubik's Cube. Um, Here's the thing. I am a very impatient person and
Mm,
I like to be good at things immediately. And Rubik's
mm,
Cubes take practice and
right.
patience. And also a very like analytical brain. I have a very
Mm,
creative brain. Um, so Rubik's Cubes were never my jam. I tried so hard getting into them, so hard, but it never stuck. What were
interesting.
you into Rubik's Cubes at all?
No. I mean, I wasn't. Let's just say, I in let me take you to middle school Quinn. He did not like to try things too much. He was definitely in robot situation trying to be popular. So he definitely studied a lot, goofed off, listened to music, and doodled. We talked about doodling. Definitely, some would say a burnout a little bit without the pot.
Mm. Yeah,
That
no,
that
I
was
get that.
that was middle school, high school, Quinn. Definitely trying to seek attention and love from the popular kids, um, and whatnot. So I relate to Robot Jones a little bit in this. And respect him a little bit more because he sticks to his guns a lot of the time when it comes to his personality. Um, so he's a better man than I am, you know. At least at that time. I'm definitely not that like that anymore. But yeah, I wasn't a Rubik's Cube guy. I don't think I would ever be into that. But I know Logic the rapper really likes Rubik's Cubes.
Mm. Yeah, no,
So yeah.
I do remember
Mm,
uh either reading that or hearing that.
mm. Not a doer, more of a thinking man. Mm.
Yeah.
Um anyway, the sickness is your typical sick episode. Um, oh, I don't know. I guess I didn't really talk about Cube Wars enough. I kind of went on a whole tangent about Rubik's cubes. But yeah, not. I don't really like this episode to be honest. Mainly because again, the Yogmans just creep me out, and I don't like how this episode ends with the Yogmans winning. I don't really. It's kind of a sour note to end on this part of the episode.
Yeah, I know, but like the good thing is they get what's coming to them in the second part of this episode.
That's true.
Um, but I do agree that like it was very disappointing to see them like win in the end. But I mean, at the same time, that's also just like reflecting you know life. Like sometimes your bullies will actually like prevail, and sometimes you just have to get used to that.
Damn, Blake turned it around. Hold
Yes,
on.
yes.
See, maybe you are a thinking man. Yeah, that's the creative mind. I'm sorry. I got two and two to get together. I was thinking of the genius, as a lot of artists like to say.
Yes.
A lot of
No, I'm just
pretentious artists like to
I
say.
have a very I have an affinity for just analyzing and uh, being able to come up with very common like not common but concrete like themes from it. So like uh this I'm able to just like, okay, I see the trajectory of these episodes, this is how it's going, and then these are how things like imprint and reflect onto those who are watching this cartoon, or those who would have watched this cartoon when it was airing. Um now you have to go on like archive.org to watch it.
Yeah.
um it's I thought it was on HBO Max, but it's not. Google
Unfortunately,
lied to me.
unfortunately, a lot of Cartoon Network shows are not on HBO Max, which is very upsetting. A
Yeah.
lot of Cartoon Network shows are not on there. Old and new. Ugh, Infinity Train. Anyway, yeah, the next part of this episode is sickness, where the Oakman prank Robot Jones by inserting a virus. It's your typical like robot gets sick episode. I don't really have much to say about it. I like the one teacher. Uh, I liked his joke about how he's like, "Yeah, I got video games, I got soccer, I got ping pong,
Ping
got all
pong.
this, but it's just Pong.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it's
all
just
Pong."
Pong the whole way through. I'm like, this is incredible. I love this. Uh yeah, it was so funny. The computer science teacher is great. The math teacher is hysterical too. Um
Yeah, what
but
did I miss the? I didn't say in my. I must have missed that in my notes here. I'll pull up the characters list. But what did you like about the? Any other notes you have for this episode, Blake? Episode
yeah,
3.
so like I think this was just a very good, like fun second half to just sort of like, redeem Robot Jones. Because, the way that the episode goes is, everyone's getting flu shots from the nurse's office, which is
Mm-hmm.
weird because this takes place in the 80s. So I guess this is probably how, like, all right, to anyone who's listening here, I was born in 1995. So I'm still like young dash old, young old. Um, so like I don't understand like the 80s as a like concept.
Right.
um I've just only seen things about it and have been left to my own devices to infer. But tangent aside, the idea of like getting a flu shot at the nurse's office was very odd. um because I was like, oh, this is a thing that happens, and no, you just go to the nurse's office if you have like a stomach ache or a headache, or like you're dehydrated or whatever, like just very small stuff that we thought was the end of the world back in middle school. um but like the whole like trajectory of the episode of like him of Robot Jones being like, oh, you can't pierce me with syringes because I'm metal. uh like, come on. Like, I'll stop mentioning this. I'll try to stop mentioning this, but like just a running theme throughout the entire show is just all the adults are very unaware of Robot Jones and his physical makeup. But
Yeah, even the
uh,
principal's like, "What? You can't take a shot?" I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, he's a robot. Like, what? What?"
yeah, but I do enjoy like the Yogmans um with them trying to like one up Robot Jones by like putting the virus floppy disk in him. And then the computer teacher coming to save the day and everything. And I also like very much enjoy how Principal Madman was uh like committing to the fact that he had a
Yeah.
computer virus. Like at the end of the episode, he's just like wearing a trash can like around his torso and a bucket on his hat. Has like vacuum tubes on his arms and like ridiculous stuff. And is like talking like a robot, and it's so funny. Speaking of which, I wanted to share a quick fun fact. Um, did you know that the first season of Robot Jones was voiced entirely by a text to speech program?
I did know that. I must have forgot to mention that. But yeah, I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, like I did a lot of research on it because I noticed from season 1 to season 2 that the voice actor changed. And I
Yeah.
was like, wait, was the first voice even a voice actor? So I went on Reddit, and of course it was the Mac text to speech from Word 98, which is really funny because you would think, oh, if this is Mac software from 1998, wouldn't this be anachronistic to, them being in school in the 80s? Au contraire, Robot Jones is a robot. Therefore, he has accelerated advanced technology within him. Ergo, having Word 98 text to speech makes absolute sense for him as a robot because he is far advanced in this time period. Like, I just thought that was like the coolest thing that I found out about this show. But yeah, the sickness episode is great. Like hearing like the deterioration in Robot Jones because of this like computer virus that made him like throw up oil and everything, and then just like all sorts of crazy stuff. He finally got his redemption when the Augments were apprehended for their wrongdoings.
True. Next, we have parents. Robot Jones must bring his parents to the parent-teacher night at middle school. I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was like, again, like this episode has very basic like episode ideas you see in many cartoons, but because it's robots, it's just so funny in real life. Like I really enjoyed a lot of the jokes in this with the family. Like one I really liked is they're like doing the yard, the parents, and like the dad unit's like getting very excited, and his excitement is a siren, and one neighbor yells, "Hair raid, run to the hills!" I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know, because like keep in mind during the 80s we were still in the Cold War,
right?
So
it's so good because of that timeline.
Yeah, no, like a lot of care was put into the setting. It was great.
It's so funny. Or when the other neighbor's like, oh, dear, forget the house plants, get in the car. It's just so many like a lot of really funny jokes, and like destroying the school, and just like it was a lot of like really funny jokes.
Yeah, there was like I feel like this episode was really good at balancing like actual humor with gag humor, of like, robot dad like blasting through the school versus like, the like humor of Robot Jones being the one controlling the programming of his parents. And also like this is one of these episodes that I think is very iconic when it comes to like character asides. When it like when all the focus is on like the main stuff that's happening, and then suddenly the focus shifts to like a very small moment in time where like someone's just saying like, oh yeah, and that's why I don't wear pants, and like you're
Dude,
catching like the tail part of the
so
conversation.
Funny.
Yeah, that cut is just like so perfectly done that
I liked Clancy's the janitor's cut where he's like he said like, don't forget I have all your combinations to your locker.
Yeah, and then suddenly there's
like,
an announcement.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, what? Yeah, there's a lot of those that happen that are just really funny. Move on to the second part of this, embarrassment. This episode is about Robot Jones wants to ask Shannon to the harvest dance, but his nervousness causes his exhaust to malfunction whenever he gets near her.
Yes. Oh man. So I gotta tell you, one of the things in elementary school and middle school that would embarrass me the most was farting. Like that was like I would want to actually die as a kid if I let one go. And this episode, like this part of the episode, like very much validated my own like fears and embarrassments as a kid. It was such a good thing to see as a child looking back on it. To know that like he dealt with this too, but yeah, that's my quick interjection.
Yeah, and like it comes around like just in general, like I don't know if you were at any dancers or not, but I remember being at specifically in like middle school, just being very uh um very nervous in these school dances. Yeah, again, was definitely an attention seeker, but I had very much a lot of nerve, so it was very difficult to talk to, specifically um, girls I had a crush on or whatever. So asking people to the dance was very difficult. It didn't work out too many times, as it didn't work for Mr. Robot over here. Um, so I definitely felt, and I definitely felt that moment of the kid. I haven't really had the moment where like the girls and the boy. I know this happens a couple times in just shows in general where the boys are on one end, girls on the other. That hasn't happened, but there's definitely been times where like nobody's dancing. We're just sitting there, standing there, uh, with like friends or whatever. Around. So I definitely get that awkwardness of a school dance for
Hmm.
sure. So it definitely hit close to home. But I really liked this episode. And I also had a fear in elementary school. I think in middle school I was okay, mainly because everyone was making fun of my last name. Um, so I didn't really have to worry about farting anymore. uh, People being nervous about that. But yeah, definitely in elementary school, I remember being nervous about farts because I mean, farts are the funniest thing to people in elementary school. Uh, so if I farted, that's like, ooh, definitely getting picked on.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I condolences to all the time someone has made fun of your last name, because that must have been absolutely rough to go through.
Yeah, middle school is very difficult, very difficult. High school, I was a veteran. I got over it, in like an adult life. But yeah, it was not fun, especially when I was trying to be the quote unquote popular kid. It was
Hmm.
very difficult. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, moving on, we get to everyone's favorite topic, politics. Um, Robot Jones runs for student council president. This had a lot of funny. This had a couple funny bits in it of like Robot Jones just not understanding how politics work, and he's just like he has a lot of character to them where he does enjoy school and does enjoy like homework and all of that. It's just a terrible like counts person. So much so that I don't remember. Yeah, just a random kid named George just starts running randomly and just immediately gets it because Robot's so bad at running.
Hmm.
Um, so it was a
Yeah.
decent episode. Not much else for me to say about this one. I don't know if you had
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. No, not really. I think like, it was just like it was just one of those things that like I guess like the creators were were like, oh, we should, since we're talking about, XYZ as far as like themes throughout episodes, why don't we throw in like student politics and then just like going from there. But I do get a good laugh out of Robot Jones being like, robots are the superior beings and you will submit to us, and I will promise that homework will be increased, we'll have shorter lunch periods and everything, and then just like at the end of that, just like the students start throwing stuff at him just because he's so bad at campaigning. And Socks is the one that helps him out in this as his campaign manager, and I'm just so surprised that he's not able to do more to help out, because he just totally ruins the campaign for himself.
Yeah,
But
his Sox's character kind of goes to shift for these episodes because he's just very nervous this episode, and his character kind of starts to change into more of like, I mean, that Robot Jones's friend group, they aren't cool as we see in multiple episodes, but he definitely is more confident a lot of the time in other
mhm,
episodes. So it's definitely interesting how they like kind of switch his character as I think it's season two specifically. is when they really like just change his character completely, pretty much. Uh,
Yeah.
but the next part of this episode is growth spurts. This episode is about Robot Jones modifies himself to be tall enough to be on the basketball team. Yeah, this was a fun episode of like robot. Like a joke I liked is Robot Jones does a lot of ridiculous stuff, and someone says, "Is that even legal?"
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's just like he's doing. What did he do? He put the basketball up in his head and then just like walked
Mm-hmm.
with it.
He uses a jetpacks to score like a dunk. I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's legal.
Yeah, just like ridiculous humor in this. It's it's solid.
Yeah, it was a decent episode. And like he gets like for cheating, he gets his comeuppance, which I do like
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah, no, it definitely teaches a good lesson there that cheaters never prosper,
Hmm.
or if you're gonna cheat, don't get caught.
Exactly. See, like the Augments.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
maybe that's what it's trying to teach you. Um, the next episode is uh,
The next episode, I believe,
jealousy.
yeah, jealousy.
And
Where it's that like Austrian exchange student. Uh,
I enjoyed
Pinkman.
I enjoyed this episode actually quite a bit because I like that he gets jealous of an android. And like an android for whatever reason is apparently because it's like I guess more human and is like has more of a personality, um, like a more that's more attracted to like Shannon's more attracted to that. It's definitely like an interesting concept for an episode. I just like the take of an android as Robot Jones's arch nemesis. It's funny.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's like when I saw Finkman, I immediately like was just like, oh, this one's gonna be like a big one for Robot Jones because now Finkman's coming in and like trying to steal his girl
Hmm.
and like doing all this crazy stuff. And I remember at the end, it was like super funny when Finkman was getting returned back to Austria. And
Hmm.
they were just like, oh, yeah, I already stole your girl. I won over your human population at your school. I've already planted like incriminating top secret documents from my country in
Yeah.
your country. And just Robot Jones is just like, what? And just like his head nearly explodes from just all this random stuff happening just for him to go. Um, no, it's so funny. It's a good one for sure.
I agree. And then next one we have is Scantron Love. This episode is about Robot gets romantically involved with his another cheating episode. He cheats for everyone, and he gets involved with the Scantron. The Scantron's like attracted to him, which yeah, it's definitely a fun premise. I like the uh like how where this like episode kind of goes. I wasn't expecting it to go this way, like because at first like his friends are struggling, and I'm like, oh well, maybe they're just gonna study or whatever. But it goes into this like fun like scam episode, weird love triangle episode because she like gets jealous of Shan and stuff, and like it's just a decently funny episode. Not too much else to add.
Yeah, no, I mean this one is where it sort of like fell off for me. I wasn't necessarily too invested in this episode while watching it, only because it was another cheating episode, and I was like, oh, like
True.
I can already see where this is going. So it's it was fine for what it was, but um I do like the fact that Robot Jones thought he was so knowledgeable just for him to get like a, what was it, a C minus or like a
Yeah.
C on his history Scantron test. And I'm like, that's kind of odd considering he has this vast database of knowledge at his disposal.
No, for sure. Yeah, not much else to add. Next, I mean, we're officially in season 2 now with the first episode. Gender.
Yes. Oh
Uh,
man, talk about a crazy episode. First off, for reference, frame of reference, this aired in 2003. So, past
right.
2002, but not necessarily that much of a leap in time. Um, this this episode talks about like talk about challenging gender norms in the early 2000s. This is it. Like this was such a bold episode to do, um, and at the same time very appropriately written for the time that it came out, because you still had like Robot Jones's friends, the boys, being like, "Oh no, he's been brainwashed. We got to convince him that he's still a boy and everything." And like you think about it, and you're like, well, Robot Jones doesn't necessarily have like an assigned gender to them. Like,
Mhm.
they can explore these things, and the only reason why Robot Jones was exploring these things was because they were put into a home ec class, and the stigma at the time was like, oh, if you did home ec with like cooking and sewing and like that kind of stuff, that you were a girl or you were girly or like feminized or whatever. um and this totally like subverted the whole like meta of it, I feel like.
Yeah,
um
Robot doesn't like, he's not like, or see, the only problem with this episode is I could be wrong, but I think a later episode he does identify as like a male, not in this episode, but a later one. So like, it makes me not love this episode a little, just a little bit less. Um, but like I do like that this episode, um, Robot Jones is not like scared of, like, they enjoy home ec later, and they enjoy having friends that are girls, just talking to other females, being a female. It's definitely an interesting episode to tackle, um, for sure. Especially at this time, like this is more of a topic that you would see, I would say, today, to be honest, which is pretty wild. Um, and maybe it's because this episode ends with a joke of, "Oh, I'm a robot. I go in the lunch stop." Maybe that's how they got away with it, and maybe it's because it was mainly more of a jokey episode. But I do think it still um, has its point across. I think that's how they were able to get away with this particular episode, is because it was comedic. But yeah,
yeah,
really enjoyed this episode quite a bit.
yeah, no, it's a very I think it's a very solid episode, which um I don't know. I enjoyed like the kickoff the second season a lot.
Mm-hmm.
With this, I feel like it just like started off very strong.
In the next episode we have is Mr. the math teacher, Mr. Mick challenges Robot Jones to a math competition to determine who is the smarter one of the two. Um, I don't really like the ending of this episode, mainly because like it doesn't end of him like learning a lesson or whatever. It's just like, yeah, sometimes let somebody flaunt their ego, which I mean it's okay. I just don't like because he doesn't. They don't have like a bonding moment together. He's just like, yeah, Robot Jones, I'm smarter than you. Like it's just so good. I'm like, oh, but you're a teacher. I don't know. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way because I mean, there's plenty of other comedic shows that I guess I just wish it ended more on because sometimes what I like about Robot Jones is it ends on a nice note of like a nice little lesson. And this is just kind of like it just feels like a slap in the face of its lesson a little bit. So that's why this episode overall it just isn't one of my favorites. Um, I don't know what. Do you have anything to add to this part?
No, not really. I don't know. Like this was definitely one that again sort of like my interest sort of tapered off in because it didn't catch my attention as much as like the first half
Yeah,
of the episode. Like it's still solid. It's still it's still good for what it is.
I agree. Next episode is Family Vacation. Robot Socks go on spring break vacation together with Robot Jones's family, um, and they're just not sure how vacation works. Um, yeah, this episode's are all right. I like the Randy Savage impersonator. That's like this biker guy.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. That's it's a good rap.
I guess my big thing with this show, there's a really gross poop joke in this, where he has to Robot Jones has to leak his oil and then goes in the bathroom and just like explodes like oil. I'm like, ew.
Yeah. Quick frame of reference. Randy Savage was the one who voiced the biker.
Oh,
Um, yeah.
wow.
His
Okay.
character's name is Biker Boss.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Also, did the Grandpa Tron he was like hitting on some other robots and I don't know, there was a weird joke in part of that. I'm just like, huh, interesting. Um yeah, that's all I really have to add to that episode. Next part of this is hair. Seeing other boys in school with hair makes Robot want hair of his own to impress Shannon, but he has trouble finding a hairstyle that suits him.
Mm, yes, that was quite the episode. Um,
Yeah,
but
there's a couple of jokes of like, yeah, you grow hair everywhere. I'm like, nice. All right.
yeah, it's like it's the best way to describe this. Very very like uncomfortable to like hear at parts, and just like some of the imagery was like very almost surreal. Like I'm just imagining Robot Jones with the curly Q mustache, and like him with the gnomes and everything. Uh, if you remember that.
Yeah, yep.
Um, and also like the pencil thin mustache of that one dude. Very disturbing hairy imagery, but still very funny.
Yeah, for sure. Next is, I believe, yeah, Garage Band. Um, Robot Socks, QB, and Mitch form a garage band together. They focus more on being cool rather than actually playing songs, which confuses Robot. It was a funny episode. I always like a band episode, and I like that
Mhm.
this episode focuses on no, we're not actually going to play the music. We're just going to be cool. Focus on everything else. A joke that really got me was cool. Like I believe it was I think it was Mitch. Yeah, Mitch was like, Oh, what's a cool word to put on my base? What about anti-de-establishment nation terrorism? Wait, how you spell that?
Yeah, exactly. Just that was so good. And also like the different like references to like, Leonard Skinnerd with
Hmm.
Mitch like singing Sweet Home Alabama just for like a
Right.
very short time. Uh Sox's costume for the band being a reference to Kiss
Hmm.
was like, very, very telling of the time. Um Also, just like the name that they ended up uh like the different names that they were going through, like Running Noses, Rockin' a Blender,
Yeah,
Robot Jones and the Humans. I think Robot Jones and the Humans would have been an excellent band name,
I
but eventually
agree.
they ended up going Rock Stallions, which I think is still really cool.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Um, anyway, the next part is work. Robot Jones gets a job with Dad Unit at the robot factory to make some extra money. This doesn't go the way I thought it was gonna go. This goes into like a tax collector, like almost like mob type of story, which I'm like, oh, I was not expecting this episode to go that way. Learn hard work from his dad. But no, it goes that way with a Knight Rider parody, which was really interesting.
Yeah, no, that was I honestly didn't see that coming at all when I was rewatching this. Like I um sorry, I lost my train of thought. Um but no, like if anything, like this show is chock full of references, like cultural references. Like just to harken back real quick, like I remember very blatantly in the pilot episode of Robot Jones, the bus's license plate was R2D2.
Yeah.
Like, this has so many nods to very famous works. Like you're gonna definitely catch them, at least most of them. Um, but yeah, no, I think this was like a really cool episode. Because it showed like actual video games uh and um and everything. But yeah, pretty solid episode.
The next episode is the Yogmen Strike Back. The Yogmens hypnotize Robot's friends and turn them into amalgamation to fight like Robot. I really don't have any notes for this episode. It was just, I mean, there was a funny Empire Strikes Back reference with the Yogman in like a Dark Vader looking chamber, putting on his like hat, but that's about it. I don't know. This episode's like, it's fine. I feel like it tackled like the same lesson as other episodes have already tackled. That's why I don't really have much else to say. And the Goblins are creepy. They're
Yeah, yeah,
anything to add?
no. There there are a lot of references that I took note of in this episode. Like there's a Scooby Doo reference with QB.
Oh right, yeah.
Um, yeah, saying my cool glasses,
My
I
cool
can't be seen
glasses.
without them. There's that. There's like there's even like blatantly an AC/DC reference, which I thought was odd. Uh, it just felt very out of place. But yeah, like the name of the episode itself is a nod to Star Wars, and even like some of the imagery within the episode is a nod to that. And yeah, like it's odd because I'm currently looking at IMDb to take a look at ratings for these episodes, and it looks like this episode is the highest rated episode of the entire series.
Oh,
Um, which I don't know if it's because of Yagman Strike Back or if it's due to the next one that we'll be talking about. But yeah, I don't really have much for this one myself. You know, uh, there were some really cool like fighting scenes, but other than that, like it was kind of like it was very much a slow burn up until the end.
the next episode is Hooky 101, which is kind of like a Ferris Bueller's Day Off parody. At least what seems like that it was what is going for. Again, there's way too many peeping Tom jokes in this. There was also a peeping Tom joke in the episode 7, where the girls are spying on the boys. I'm like, why are there so many peeping Tom jokes in this show? But yeah, and that episode goes with Principal Madman gets arrested, and Robot's dad fights him. It's definitely interesting episode. I'm like, oh, I really thought like it subverts my expectations, but I don't, not in a good way a lot of the time. Robot Jones, um, like this was like, oh, okay, there's not really a lesson of skipping school or whatever. Just yeah, and the principal who's trying to get them back gets arrested. I'm like, oh, all right. This not much else
Yeah,
to say.
yeah, I think it's like this episode back to back with Yagman Strike Back are very much a like a 1-2 punch with content because you're going from like insane fight scenes from the previous episode to like they're skipping school, they're going to get in trouble, like all this stuff, which is a sort of like another sort of like punch in of itself of getting in trouble with your parents, getting in trouble with the principal, et cetera, et cetera. But no, it like really gave more insight into like Jones's friends, and like their personalities and everything, which I thought was really cool. Um, but yeah, no, I think this was a pretty good episode too.
Yeah. All right. Next we have one sec. Next we have House Party. Robot Jones throws a big party as the typical house party episode. I enjoyed this one. Mainly because I liked the development of Robot Jones and Shannon. So this one's rated a little higher for me, but not too much else to say. Like it's just a decently fun episode. I like the bonding moment between Robot Jones and the grandpa unit at the end. That was nice.
Yeah, and sadly, that was like the last time you saw a Gramps unit.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, but no, still a very solid character. Thank you for protecting your grand robot and offering your insight.
Yeah, I agree. Next is school newspaper. Typical Robot Jones gets a job for the school newspaper and writes stories about Principal Madman. Uh, Principal Madman, don't know how he got out of jail, but
Yeah, no, there are some significant time jumps that I've noticed.
and he's blaming Robot Jones, and this goes into like a detective story for a minute. I'm like, oh, okay. And everyone just doesn't like Robot Jones. For a minute, don't really have much to say about this, to be honest. I've seen this episode done many times, so I don't have much to say.
Yeah, no, I mean it's your like typical like detective episode in a school cartoon. Like you know you you've seen one, you've seen them all. Honestly, not very high rated up on my list.
Yeah, same for me. Next is safety patrol. When Robot Jones put on the school safety patrol, he enforces the rules very strictly. This was a fun episode. I like this one because I like that he just is very controlling about safety and becomes like this dictator. Definitely a good episode of if they would have went with that ending of Robot Jones taking over the world. I could see that, so that I definitely liked that. I thought it was a decently fun episode. Not really any specific jokes or anything to add. Just yeah, it's not bad. Anything you wanted to add?
No. Like what does suck is that this was the last episode that we saw Clancy in, who I
That's
think is like
true.
one of the best characters in the show. He very much a comedic relief, and very much a just like a fun guy to have around in the show. Um, I also I also like the different rules that are like done in safety patrol. Like no improper straw usage is one. Or don't eat sandwiches in the hall. Like what? Like these are like insane rules. But it's just very much funny. Uh yeah, I think that's all I got for it.
All right. Next is popularity. Robot Jones sends a decoy version of himself to school so he can attend a robotics expo, but the decoy ends up becoming popular, and people like that one more than Robot Jones. Um, yeah, decent episode. Like I liked the jokes in this one because he just all he says is zombies and just doesn't really say much, but everyone's like, "Yeah, that's cool." But it's also sad because I'm like, "Oh, people really don't like Robot Jones." Um, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I'm like, oh, I feel bummed out for Robot Jones.
Yeah, exactly. Like I definitely felt for him in this. Uh like he tried something and it just did not work out the way that he wanted it to, and it was just very very sad, but life goes on. And yeah, the jokes were very solid in this one. I did enjoy um uh I did enjoy like the dynamic and everything, but um like it was definitely like it reminded me of other episodes of other like school age cartoons that I've watched and like TV shows that I've watched that had very similar premises, but I can't think of them. I don't know. It was just very like nostalgic to me. Um, but yeah, no. Very solid episode.
Next, we're in our final episode of with summer camp. Robot tries to impress Shannon by showing off his woodsman skills at summer camp. I really enjoyed this episode. I felt bad for Robot Jones. He's just really trying to get Shannon to notice him. I related very much to this episode, going back to my narrative in middle school / high school, where I was definitely making a fool of myself just to try to get attention to the the girl I was attracted to. It never worked. So I related to Robot Jones in this specific scenario. I mean, I didn't set like a fire or anything like that, like he did, but I definitely messed up quite a bit. So I feel Robot Jones in this particular episode. How did you
Yeah.
feel about it, Blake?
Uh yeah, no, I definitely felt for him, and I definitely felt for, him trying to like impress her and everything. But what got to me was the insanity in the episode of like um you know, Shannon gets trapped, kidnapped by a bear.
Yeah.
Robot Jones is like trying to help out by like, swinging on, I think it was like ropes or vines or whatever, jumping on alligators and then chasing a bear. And then like the bear escapes and like runs away. And Robot Jones is actually able to like get Shannon back and thinks he saved the day, but because he got mud on her shirt, she's pissed. I'm just like, why? This is so petty. Like I was like, man, screw Shannon. Like, like
She is pretty rude to him this entire show. It does suck. I mean, it's definitely because she's like just attracted to like a lot of other boys that aren't Robot Jones, but it's just so sad. Uh, root for him. He's trying. Or Robot Jones trying their best. Um, anyway, the last part of this is rules dating. Before Robot can go on a date with Shannon, he must remember to abide by the rules of dating robots. Another Shannon just is like, go away, Robot Jones. Just there's also one of those sides we were talking about where someone just says, "Yeah, Nixon was on the dollar bill, you dumb butt." Oh, really?
yeah, no, this is a lot of good quotes in
Yeah.
this.
Greg Sipes, the voice of Beast Boy, voiced a lot of characters in this episode, so I thought that was fun as well.
Yeah, no, this is definitely like the triumphant ending to the series. You know, very rife with references. I do enjoy the Full Metal Jacket reference in this.
Yeah.
I just I just thought that was very funny. And yeah, no, like I don't get why Shannon is so rude to Robot in this. Like, just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, no, I think this was like a very solid ending to the series. And it's yeah, I have really nothing more to say about this.
All right. We are now rating all the episodes for our personal list. Blake, do you need some more time for your list? Because I got mine. If you would like me to go first.
Yeah, if you would like to go first, go right ahead.
So my ratings for this are number 1, episode 4, number 2, episode 13, number 3, episode 7, number 4, episode 1, number 5, episode 2, number 6, episode 12, number 7, episode 11, number 8, episode 9, number 9, episode 6, number 10, episode 8, number 11, episode 10, number 12, episode 5, and number 13, episode 3. I'm not going to name all the episode titles because we would be here for a minute. So you're just going to have to YouTube listeners, you're just going to have to remember what the episode names were.
Yeah, fair. All right. I'll follow the same order that you had.
Okay.
So, as far as going from like first to last. So, in first, I would give it to episode 3. For second, I'd give it to episode 7. Third, I would give it to episode 5. Fourth, episode 1. Fifth, episode 2. Sixth, episode 4. Seventh, episode 11. What number am I on again?
I think you said 7. I think you're on 7.
Yep. 7, episode 9. 8, episode 12. 9, episode 11. 10, episode 13. And then the remainders, which I believe are, I forget off the top of my head, but the remainders of which all tied for last. But yeah, that is my list.
I forgot most of it as well. I detracted because I was trying to keep track, but I ultimately keep in track. But I think the audience will get it.
Yes, exactly. And if you don't, well, we tried.
Yeah, I mean, from our thoughts of each episode, I think they will probably tell. Hopefully, I think I was wrong about that one point because I was not able. Maybe you know what I'm thinking about, Blake. I'm thinking about on Wikipedia. Robot Jones' pronouns are he, him, so that's why it was confusing me. So Wikipedia
Yeah.
could be wrong.
Yeah, no, I did a little bit of surface level research, and it looks like canonically Robot Jones's pronouns are he, him. So,
Dang, that's kind of disappointing.
yeah,
I was
I
hoping
was kind of
Robot
hoping
Jones.
for a non-binary icon from this show,
Yeah,
but
me too. Especially now. Like I figured, like I don't know, the creator or something would be like, yeah, I meant it to be, non-binary or
well,
along whatever. I guess that
I
just
mean,
wasn't his thought process. Maybe.
I to be fair, I mean, Robot Jones, I would still consider to be non-binary, but using
Yeah.
he, him pronouns because I feel like that's the easiest way for him to identify himself. But you know,
Yeah. Um. Yeah. And what would you rate the show, Blake, out of 10?
overall,
Yeah, overall, both. We're just gonna count both seasons together.
yeah,
Just 'cause it's
overall,
easier.
combining season 1, season 2, I think I would give it a solid, um, uh, solid to heavy 7 out of 10.
Oh, okay. It's a little higher than on mine. Okay. I'm My rating for this is a 6 overall. I just think a lot of episodes are just I probably will never watch again. They're just a lot of very simple premises, but there isn't really too many episodes I think are like genuinely bad. I think only like the bottom like 5, 6 I really don't really like. So like even less than that, honestly. Like some of the bottom ones I really just don't love because some of the jokes and some of the endings I don't love, but there are some positives I really like about the show. Some of the other topics, I do like the cast of characters we have. So, from characters to supporting cast to our main character, Robot Jones. So, I at least got to give it a 6. I definitely, but it's just a solid 6. I can't really go anywhere higher than that. It's just a fine cartoon. Not much else to say. Other than that, I enjoyed the Shannon character, enjoyed Robot Jones, enjoyed all of his friends, enjoyed the T-shirt characters and Clancy and definitely the art style quite a bit. But none of that's like enough for me to go any higher than just a solid 6. So that's my thought process of it. But what are your kind of like final thoughts of the show?
Final thoughts. I think this show did a pretty decent job at sort of having a comedic approach to middle school life. As far as like generic topics go, nothing necessarily like time period specific. I think it just did a really good job of covering the bases of what to expect growing up, at least in an American school. I don't know if the same would be applied to our friends overseas, but animation style definitely one of the most unique ones I've ever seen in any cartoon.
Absolutely.
Would love to see more cartoons try this type of style. I feel like it would be a little more refreshing to see that now, with like,
Yeah.
modern takes on stuff. But um, yeah, this was definitely such a pleasure to rewatch and be able to relive, those moments of like looking at my like box TV set and watching this as some of them aired, because even when I was in elementary school, I was still up pretty late at night when these would air. Um, so it definitely brought back some good feelings of nostalgia.
Heck yeah. That was pretty dope. Yeah, everyone, um, you're gonna have to watch it on YouTube or something. HBO Max just does not want to remaster it and put it on its network. But yeah, definitely. Hopefully, this sheds some light on people do watch the show. Hopefully, because that would be kind of a bummer. I mean, we don't really want it to fade into obscurity, lost in time. So hopefully, we're bringing a little bit of life into Robot Jones a little bit. Um, yeah, that's about all we have to say. Blake, thank you for coming on, and hopefully, we definitely got to talk a little bit more about some other Cartoon Network shows in the future.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. I'm always happy to be on, and always happy to discuss and just sort of like butt our heads together with these cartoons.